What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. If you are watching this on the replay, leave me a comment and let me know that you're here. And those of you that are here, hi, Keith Harper. Keith is here. It's 1 a.m. where he's at. And let me know, Keith or anybody else, if the sound is good. There's no echo. There shouldn't be an echo, but that's been a problem in previous live streams. So I want to make sure that we're good there before I move on. VB is in Norway. He's going to watch it tomorrow. That's great. Robert's on. Hey, Robert. Glad you made it. So we're going to, you know what? Let's get to the Scotch portion of this. Before we start talking about snakes and answering questions and stuff like that, because oh good, the sound is great. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate that. So here's what I did the other day. I bought a Scotch that I've never tried before. Here's the thing about Scotch sleeves, you guys. A Scotch sleeve for a snake is really good enrichment, but it's very expensive to buy and it doesn't last very long. You throw them out eventually. But they come with a free bottle of Scotch. So it almost makes it worth it. So this is Anok. Anok. You don't pronounce that C that's really big. It's a Gaelic word, I think. And so the Celts didn't know how to spell things. So they just put random letters in everything. So this is Anok. And it's a Highland Scotch. I'm usually drinking Islay Scotches because I like that leathery, peaty situation. But I really like Highland Scotches too. So we're going to open this and I'm going to see what it's all about. I see this a lot. Never had it. Don't know that I know anybody that's ever had it. Like I haven't heard much about it. I have seen that there are a couple of reviews on it and it's supposed to be good. But that's all I know. So I'm going to pour this, and then we will get started with the live stream. That is... Okay. All right. Let me tell you what I think of this real quick. A bit soft, Keith is saying. Let me do this. Oh, how about this? If I put this a little bit closer. Okay, you guys, let me know if the volume is soft. That was another problem in the last live stream. Let me just look at these comments while I let that, since I just opened the bottle, it'll be good to let that whiskey sit for a minute. Hi, everybody. Great seeing you all. Great. Okay. So did you guys see the post that I put up today? I did a YouTube short, but I also put it on Instagram of Echo crawling. I wasn't watching her very closely, and she crawled across this door, and my targets are right here behind the microphone. Anyway, she found the targets and was sitting on them, waiting for me to give her food. So, all right, let me check this out. Oh, that's like... Ooh, that's lemony and honey. You know what it reminds me of? Whenever I taste whiskey, I always try to think of, you always want to try to figure out what those smells and tastes remind you of. This is like when I was a kid and had a lemonade stand and made the lemonade and then brought it in to give to my grandfather, who had been drinking since 10 a.m. and handing him the lemonade. It's like that smell of alcohol and lemonade and honey. This is actually really nice. That's great. Okay, let's see. Oh man, it's like dessert. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's a little bit more challenging than I thought it would be. It's what's the? I I thought this was like a 40%. Oh, it's 43%. Okay. So it's 86 proof. Man, it's really nice for a whiskey that's not very expensive. It's around, in California at least, it's around $50. Really nice. I like it. It's like dessert. It tastes like a bowl of fruit. Okay, we did that. That's what I'm drinking. A knock. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. It's going to be probably more. If anybody is watching live right now that's had a knock, tell me what you think about it. But it's probably going to come in more from people on the replay watching it. They go, "Oh yeah, I drink that stuff," or "I hate that stuff," or whatever they say. You know. So let's. Where's my? Right here. Let's talk about this crazy hat is going to be hitting this mic the whole time. Let's look at I have a theme for this show, and we're going to talk about how I put together some free roaming zones for the snakes, and we're going to include that ladder. One of the questions that I got was from YouTube. Somebody said, "I like your ladder in the background. How did you make it?" And I went over that when I first got the ladder, but that's kind of an old video now, and there's more stuff to it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a few other zones that I have that I've made for different snakes to free roam. When I say free roam, it's mostly supervised free roaming. There's only a few snakes that I don't supervise that much because they're big enough that they'll never get lost. But So we're going to talk about that, but I'm also going to answer some questions that, let's see, here we go. All right, so let's just start with some of these Patreon questions that are not necessarily on that topic. Carol asks, my guy has not eaten in weeks, which I know is not a real concern, but he isn't coming out of his hide either. Should I be concerned? He's in a vivarium and the husbandry is spot on. You know, it's probably not. You know, you shouldn't be too concerned, but I always check on my snakes. If they're in their hide for a long time, I just pop open the hide and check on them. I might lift them up to look at their belly to see if they're in shed, and I didn't realize they were in shed. Just give them a quick check if they're hanging out in their hide a lot, because they do that, and snakes will go in phases. You'll see them out for like 2 weeks in a row, out every day, and then all of a sudden they're not out anymore. And it might just be a phase that they're going through. There could be something else. So I always just check on them. Here's something that we're going to talk about. Jessica inspired me to do something cool. Jessica says, do you have a link where we can purchase products that you suggest, i.e. heaters, substrate, etc., that you would get a commission on? I'd like to be able to purchase products that you've had good experience with and be able to have you get a return on the referral. And I'm glad that she mentioned that, because I have for a while been trying to figure out how to do, or I wasn't trying to figure out how to do the affiliate marketing program with Amazon, but I was thinking about it and I just had been lazy and not doing it. So it's always, whenever I do something new with this channel, it's always because people have requested it. Like I started a Patreon because I had several people request Patreon. So I looked it up and figured out how to do it, whatever. So I just did that with Amazon, and I now am an affiliate with Amazon, which is cool. And I've posted, in fact, in this video, there should be a huge list of basically everything that I talk about, all my setup, everything on the ladder pretty much. Maybe not everything on the ladder, but there's stuff, we'll talk about that. But all kinds of things. The Govee thermometers, they're all Amazon links. And as an affiliate, you get a little tiny bit from, if you click on that link and buy. But it all adds up. And so those lists, I put them on probably the last, 15 or 20 videos that I put up. I went through and added that into the description. So if you look at a recent video in the description, including this video, you'll see a list of the things. So let me know how that works for you guys. All right, moving forward. I'm going to be bumping this all night. Oh, Jessica says, also, is there a gene name for that cute guitar on a python's head? Yes, there is. That the gene that causes that is spot nose. And a lot of people, I know Justin Kabelka has said that it looks like a hoof print, a cow hoof print to him. And the head stamps come out a little bit differently. In fact, let me grab Dolly really quick because she's been in the front of the tub wanting to come out anyway. And she has a great example of it. Hi, young lady. You up and moving around? She's been up all afternoon. Let's see. How do I... There we go. All right, so she has a nice... I don't know if it's going to focus. Let me get my... How do I get my face out of the way? It's not going to focus on her. That's a bummer. Anyway, you can see the basic guitar shape. The guitar neck points down to her nose. It's kind of like a flaming guitar because the body sort of flames at the top of her head. I wish it would focus on her. Dang it. But anyway, you can see that. So she's spot nose, and her dad has a guitar on his head too. I would pull him out, but Ron is in shed right now, and so he's very happy just sitting in his hide. Anyway, we'll hang out with Dolly here for a minute. That hot librarian has a question for me, and she's kind of known for very deep questions because when I set these live streams up and I ask people to give me questions, I say it doesn't have to do anything with snakes. And same with right now, if you're putting questions in the chat that I'm going to go through in a second, doesn't have to do with snakes, whatever you want to ask. In fact, it could be questions that I know nothing about, and I'll make up an answer, whatever. Anyway, that hot librarian says, when was the last time you cried, and what made you cry? It's a great question. I am not much of a crier, to the point where there's no way, if I ever got a role in a movie or a TV show and I had to cry, fortunately men don't usually have to, but if I had to, I'd have to be like, I can't. I cannot cry on cue. And it makes me think, like, am I a robot? Do I not have emotion? But then I'll watch a TV show, I'll watch like Firefly, and Wash will die, and a little tear running down the cheek, and I'll go, oh, I can cry. There we go. There it is. Or how about this? Tell me if you know this reference. Joyce is on the couch. Buffy walks in, and she's like, Mommy? Tear. And I'm like, I am a grown man, and I'm sitting here watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer with a tear running down my cheek. So I can cry, I guess. But in real life, when did I really last cry? It would be when my grandmother died, and that was 7 or 8 years ago. It was a while. So, not much of a crier. Great question, the hot librarian. We're going to get to the Harper's questions in a minute. They always come in with good questions. But let me jump into the chat really quick. Here we go. I'm just catching up for a second. You guys know how this goes. The autistic cat. You're in Scotland, lives in Scotland. I'm so impressed. Tell me where in Scotland you are. And she's got Scotch easy to get. Yes, I love that. I really want to take a trip to Scotland, and I will let you know, the autistic cat, if and when I do that. Eric is asking, what's the largest snake I've got right now? That's a good question. It's usually, hands down, it's Damara. And I'll get her out too. Damara is taking this season off, though. She's not breeding this season, so she's kind of at a normal size. Whereas now Freya and Kata are both getting fat because they're building, and I'm waiting for ovulations from them soon. So they might be heavier at this point, but Damara is definitely longer. I'll pull her out in a minute. Oh, Eric, thanks so much. Eric's new to the channel. I appreciate the kind words, and thanks for joining us on the live. That's cool. Appreciate that. Christina asked, do you have any tattoos? I don't have tattoos. I love tattoos and I love tattoo artists. I have a good friend who's a fantastic tattoo artist, and I would like to have tattoos. My problem is this: um, I feel like I'm gonna get a tattoo and I'm gonna like it for a month and then I'm gonna go, oh man, I kind of don't like this anymore, and I'm just gonna hate it and I'm gonna have to go through that crazy process of trying to get it removed, and so I just never got tattoos. But I really admire them. I like them a lot. I think they're awesome. I'd love to see everybody's tattoos. Dustin asks, any tips on keeping humidity in a glass enclosure? Yeah, glass enclosures are hard to do as they come because it's not the glass that's the problem because humidity doesn't escape through glass, but it does escape through that mesh screen top. So putting tape, havoc tape, over the mesh screen top is helpful. I had plastic over mine and that worked for a while, and then I realized the tape is better, so I did that, and then it was kind of falling apart anyway, so I replaced it with a screen top from Focus Cubed Habitats, or not a screen top, sorry, a PVC top from Focus Cubed Habitats, and the only screen portion of it is where this plant light sits, and then I've got a CHE over here that you can't see, and there's a screen for that, but otherwise it's PVC and it's awesome. I love it. And then the other thing would be have substrate that you can mix water into. If you spray, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I spray twice a day or I spray every day. You don't need to do that if you mix the water in. The reason you have to spray every day or twice a day is because you spray and that top layer of moisture just evaporates right away. So mix the water into the substrate and you'll be good for probably a week. Depends on where you're at, but let's see. Here's a question. Do you ever think... Oh, hold on. I like this question. Here's a question. Do you ever think we'll find a way to make a completely snake-proof room where they can truly free roam like a cat or a dog without supervision? Could it ever be done, do you think? Yes. And many of us are doing it. Lori Torini's entire house is snake-proofed, so they can go wherever they want. And I think it's crazy because if you look at Lori's videos, she has enclosures all over her house and all kinds of stuff, but she's got it to where her snakes can't like wiggle into somewhere and get lost. She's going to find them eventually. And I think a lot of the snakes that she has out, a lot of the time she kind of knows where they're going to go. And mine too. I do have a door that's always open. Like it's not a door, it's just an archway into another room that I don't want them to go into. So I kind of watch them that they don't go in there. But if they did, it wouldn't be a big deal. And I'm talking about my big snakes like Damara, who roams around. But basically, Damara, I've been letting her out since she's taking the season off. She wants to, I'll come out in the morning, and if I see her at the front of the tub, I'll just open the tub, and she'll come out. And I know that she's going to go either behind the mirror, which you can see right there. That's a big, giant mirror. She'll go and sit behind that or behind my couch, and she'll be there all day. I mean, I can leave and go shopping, whatever, come back. She's still behind the mirror. And then I just put her away whenever I need to. So yeah, that's, I think a lot of people do that, just have their snakes out and about roaming around. I remember when, before I had all these snakes, I still had a bunch of reptiles, and I had snakes before and all kinds of stuff. A friend of mine asked me to snake sit for him. He had a very large red-tailed boa, like extremely large. It was probably 10 to 12 feet. And he had it in a pretty large enclosure, but he always just opened it when he got up in the morning. He would open the enclosure and the snake could come out or not, whatever. And then when he went to bed at night, he would just have to find the snake and put it away. But the snake always liked to be in the cupboards. So it was kind of scary for me, this big snake that I didn't really know, to be like opening cupboards to see if the snake, to see if this 10 or 12 foot boa constrictor is in there. But it turned out that it was a really sweet snake. Like I'd open the cupboard and it would kind of make me jump, and I'd pull her out, and she'd be fine with it, and put her in her enclosure. She was cool. She was a cool snake. But she got free roam. All right, that was a long time on that question. Hey, Jessica. Jessica, I've been getting so many compliments on the rocks that you painted. Anytime people come over, they're like, "Whoa, where'd you get those rocks?" So you need an Etsy store, and you need to, or not even an Etsy store. You need to just take commissions from people to paint their snakes on rocks. You'd be a millionaire. All right. Bren, oh, that's a good question, Bren. You seem like you have an interesting work history. What's your favorite and least favorite previous job / career? So right now, I do my favorite job / career. Pretty much everything that I do as a job, which is I'm a stand-up comic. I perform at festivals. I work as an actor, sometimes writer, sometimes producer, but that's rare. I teach music. I do snakes. All of those things are things that I love, and I've sort of crafted my life like that because I don't want to have to be a mortgage broker, which is what I did in my previous life, and that job sucked. That was terrible. Actually, the worst job that I had was working on a chemical plant when I was like 18 years old. I was working for a company called Brown and Root, which is a big engineering company in Houston, Texas, on a chemical plant. And basically, I was a laborer. I was shoveling. I was standing in caustic, which is basically the opposite of acid, but it does the same thing. So you got to put on a big full body suit and standing in caustic shoveling these trenches in August weather in Houston, Texas. That was the worst job. The second to that would be being a mortgage banker, which I did for a while in my 20s. It's a good question. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so Eric, on the substrate being too damp, you just have to figure out what that balance is. When I break up a block of cocoa husk, I don't know if that's what you're using, but the premise here basically is the same. When I break up a block of cocoa husk, I do it fairly dry. A lot of people soak it and then break it up, and then they've got wet cocoa husk. Sometimes I just pull it apart dry, and then I add the water that I need to add later. And it's gotten to where I'm pretty good at knowing how much water I need to add, where it's not going to be 100% humidity in there. But I'm okay, if I add it in and it's 90% humidity, that's fine. That's not going to cause condensation on the walls, and it's a little bit high, but it's not going to give them a respiratory infection or anything like that. Because my tubs are also clean. If I had a dirty tub with that high of humidity, it would cause a respiratory infection. So you just have to know what the level is there. Oh, that hot librarian! Thanks for the Scotch Fund. She always gives me a super chat for the Scotch Fund. I appreciate that. So you guys, I'm going to try to answer everybody's question. I always try to do that, but I do miss them sometimes, especially because I get to talking too much. And so if you have a question that you really want me to see, throw up a super chat, and I'll always see those because they're colored. Gavin, I'm getting a snake soon and was wondering what you think would be a ball python or a western hognose. I love hognoses. I don't keep them, but I think that your biggest issue there is going to be the size of the snake. What's the perfect size of a snake for you? If you like them a little bit bigger, I'd go with the ball python. Hognoses stay smaller, but they're super cool snakes. To me, the rear-fanged venomous thing is kind of a non-issue, unless you're allergic to it. The snake has to sort of chew on you to get those back fangs in, and then even then, it's not. For most people, it's kind of a non-issue. It's not a big deal. So I don't think that would be a concern if you're trying to decide between the two. They're both really cool snakes. I think primarily it's a size thing. You know, there might be personality things about the hognose that I can't really speak to because I've never had one. So I'm sure somebody with hognose experience could give you a better sort of general idea. All right, I'm going to put this young lady back, and then I'm going to answer the Harper's questions from Patreon. Hold on. And surprise, while I'm at it, we're getting Damara since I said we're going to get her. Okay. So Damara is usually my biggest snake, but she's my longest, I would say. And when she's fatter, she's around probably 3,800 grams is what she gets up to. Hold on one second. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Keith is giving Gavin some advice on this because Keith and Mary Harper have a ball python and a hognose, so they're good ones to talk to about that. Okay, let's get to their questions, Keith and Mary Harper's. If money and space were no object, what would your ideal enclosures be like for the 3 python species that you keep? That's a great question. So, and I keep ball pythons, super dwarf reticulated pythons, and I have a black-headed python. I'm sure soon it'll be plural for the black-headed. I'll get a boy for her. I'm not going to get a bunch of black-headed pythons, but I'll have a boy eventually. So my my dream enclosure would be a room set up like a zoo enclosure where you could have multiple snakes in there. And cohabbing is not a thing that anyone should ever do unless you're a zoo that has a massive enclosure with many different hot spots and UV spots and things like that. If you have an enclosure the size of a room, you can have a few, I would say female, if we're talking about ball pythons, I would put a few female ball pythons together. I probably would be careful about the gender thing. You could probably put males together too in a thing like that. And again, I'm not suggesting that anyone cohab their reptiles because I don't think that anyone watching this has a room that they can have multiple areas and things like that. But, and even when you do that, even if I did have that situation, you really have to monitor them, especially at first, to make sure everything's okay and make sure that they're not, you know, I guess my concern would be that there's one spot that they all prefer. Let's say I have 3 snakes in a room together, and there's one hot spot that they all prefer. If that's the case, then you got a problem. You want to make sure that they kind of stay separated. So I would do that with the super dwarfs too. I would not do that with the black-headed pythons because they tend to eat each other. I mean, they don't tend to. It's not a common thing, but living together, I bet they would. So with a black-headed python, it would be probably like an 8-foot enclosure that's really tall also, because I think black-headed pythons will climb into the tree, even though they don't very often, but I'd like to see it happen. In fact, quick segue, I'm thinking about doing a video, and if this doesn't work at all, then I won't release the video, but I want to do a video testing to see which snakes will attempt to climb the rope. So we've already seen the super dwarf reticulated pythons. They do that naturally. But I want to see if I can get any of my ball pythons to climb that rope. And I'm really curious if I can get the black-headed python to do any rope climbing. They'll all climb up into a branch, like up into a tree. But I'm talking vertically straight up like the retics do. I don't think they will, but I'm going to try it and I'll film it. And if it works, I'll release the video. Oh, Damara, don't knock my targets off. Well, and she did. She doesn't know the targets. She's not target trained, so she didn't do that hoping for food. She just did that to mess with me. So that was a great question. What happened to your left arm? This, I have this gash on my left arm, which I think was probably prominent in my last video. That, you guys, was gang wars. There was a gang war here in Los Angeles, and I went in to break it up and stopped the. What I did is I jumped in the middle, right as a knife was coming down, and I was like, "Hey, stop this craziness!" And basically, what I did is I convinced them to settle their differences with a West Side Story style dance battle, and that's what happened. Saved a lot of lives that day, you guys. The other story, if some people go, "Oh, that's not believable. I don't believe that that happened." Well, a more believable story maybe is that I tripped over my computer cord and fell and scratched my arm on the corner of a snake rack. But that's kind of unbelievable too, because I don't think you can imagine me being clumsy like that. So take your pick on which story you want to believe. Okay. Great question again. Let's see. How's the whole anti-reptile law going? Yeah, because you guys are in England. The Lacey Act stuff, this is good timing to just mention really quick. The Senate had taken a break. They've been gone for like, I don't know, 2 months or something. Now they're back in session. Like as of right now, they're back in session. So now is a good time to contact your senator and be pushing this again, because now they're back in session, literally working on this right now. So everybody contact who you need to contact. And if you don't know how to do that, go to usarc.org and they will, you'll get all the information there. Also, Reach Out Reptiles just started a YouTube channel for USARC. It's USARC's YouTube channel. It's run by Garrett and his guy that does the videos, and his name's escaping me right now. Anyway, YouTube channel for USARC. I think that's great. Are there any viewing habits that aid your ranking on the YouTube algorithm, or should we avoid lest they harm it? No, not really. That's nice of you to ask, and I appreciate that. But, just watching the videos and comments and likes are really helpful. It's always helpful when people jump from, they finish a video and then they go on to another one of my videos. That really helps the algorithm. But, just watching the videos is cool. There's nothing that I know of that's like harmful to me that a viewer could do. But I appreciate all you guys watching. Oh, and here, this is actually a really important one that I just sort of took care of. As one who is approaching an age where my snakes might outlive me, I was wondering, do you have an end-of-life plan for your snakes and or any recommendations in this regard? Yeah. So you need to have a plan. When you have animals, you got to have a plan, because if you die and nobody knows how to take care of your snakes or whatever, that could be a problem. I didn't want to be in that position where I die and, like, my neighbor Yoli, who loves my snakes but doesn't want to take care of them, all of a sudden has to do that, or my sister has to fly down and sort of figure out what's going on. So I have 3 sons that are all grown, and I got on a Zoom call with them. They've been around reptiles. When they were growing up, we had reptiles, different things, but they're not really reptile people. And I got on a Zoom call with them just a couple days ago, and I was like, you guys, here's the thing. If I was rich, if I had like a bunch of cars or something like that, I probably wouldn't even think about a will until I'm like 85 and on my deathbed, and then be like, oh, I better put the cars in my will to my kids. But because it's live animals and anything could happen to me, we need to figure this out. So I said, you guys need to know what I have, and because they don't watch my videos. Because I'm their dad, they don't care. But I'm like, you need to know what I have, and you need to have access to my Husbandry Pro app, just in case anything happens. We need to kind of have a plan. And when you guys come down to visit, which they usually don't, I'm usually going where they are to visit. But if you guys ever come down, they're in. I have one in Missouri and two in Seattle. So I said, if you guys come down, you need to like. I want to go over how to do this. You know what you would do, and then if it ever came to it, I have a million videos that you could just watch and figure it out. So I told them that they could either continue it as a business if they wanted to, or they could sell the snakes, you know, but I don't want them to be like, oh, it's a ball python, sell it for $25 and it's worth $2,500, you know. So I want them to know how to price them, and I want them to understand, you know, all that stuff. So that's what I did. I recommend that you have the same situation, or you just have a friend that understands snakes and you're like, look, if anything happens to me, the snakes are going to you, you know. You don't want a big interruption, even though I don't believe that the snakes would miss me. I don't think that's the thing. I think that what they would miss is food and water. And you don't want to have an interruption in their life just because their keeper had an interruption in theirs. That's a great question. Okay, now let's go to the big question that I kind of based the theme of this around, which is, I like your ladder. How did you do it? So we're going to talk about that as we'll start talking about it, but I'm going to do the Patreon mid-video Patreon scroll real quick. Is that even in frame? Yeah. Oh, come on. I just dropped it. Thanks to these Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. And, oh man, it's weird to do a scroll when I can't see what's happening. I hope everybody's names happen there. Here's a new board. I consolidated the boards and then I had to make one new one for Brandy here. And my chalk pen was working in such a way that to me this looks like horror movie writing almost. And I didn't mean for it to be that way, but that's how it went. And here's the flaming beard category. Here are the folks that are in the flaming beard tier. All right. There's that one. And we just have one more board. And then we're going to talk about how to make some zones for the snakes to do some free roaming in. There we go. Okay. Patreon board's done. Great. All right. So I have 4 zones. I'm gonna intro this, and then I'm gonna try to catch up on your comments really quick, and then we'll go back to it. I have 4 zones that are considered free roaming zones for different snakes. So first of all, the easiest one is just the house for a snake like Damara. My large females that are 8-9 pounds, very easy to find if they went missing. Can pretty much roam where they want. And I make sure that I shut my bathroom door, and I also, because I'm paranoid, I also make sure that the toilet is closed. You know, I don't ever want to have a situation where somehow a snake got into the bathroom and then got into the toilet. I don't think there's anything else really that I need to do. If they get into the closet, it doesn't matter. If they, you know, even if they get into this other room that I don't want them in, it wouldn't matter. They can pretty much go wherever they want, but they almost always just go under the couch or behind the mirror, and it's so predictable where they're at. So that's one zone. Another zone is there's a countertop that's basically the camera is sitting on right now. And that countertop is a great space. It has a bunch of plants and some various random things, and it always is kind of changing. It's always a little bit different. So that's a great one for the young snakes to roam around on. And a lot of times in the morning, I will let them free roam. Now that free roam is supervised. The only one that's not supervised really is for the big girls. But the countertop is good for snakes. There's nothing that they can get into that's going to be a problem. I just make sure that they don't come off the counter. So I do have to kind of stand there and watch them, or at least sit on the couch and keep an eye on them. I've got a snake hide on there. If you guys have seen there, I've done some Instagram posts, videos, and things like that of snakes in that hide. It's a big hide built by Black Box Enclosures, and I just keep it on the countertop. There's a plant on top of it usually. And most of the snakes that are familiar with the countertop know where that hide is, and if they feel like they want to use it, then they use it. And a lot of times they'll go into the hide first, and then they'll poke their head out and just watch what's going on in the room. And once they feel like everything's cool, they'll come out and roam around, which I think is a cool thing. You know, it's the ability. Echo does it a lot, actually. She comes out of her enclosure onto the counter, goes right into the hide, checks the situation, and then comes out and roams. So having a hide just randomly somewhere is kind of cool for them. The other space is the playpen that many of you have heard a lot about. I've got this playpen that is really cool, and there's a link to it on Amazon in the description. This is a Zampa, I guess is what it's called. It's a dog playpen. I just pull it out and it pops right up. It takes me about 3 seconds. And then I just dump random stuff in there. And I have a lot of different things. I have these balls like this. I have a bunch of extra hides and a ton of plastic plants, wadded up paper, whiskey sleeves, and any of that kind of stuff is great in there. I did a Instagram post the other day. What just fell? It's all right. I did an Instagram post the other day of, it's my target that Damar knocked down, of the snakes climbing on monstera leaves. A friend of mine brought over these real leaves. They're big, giant monstera leaves that were used as placemats for their Easter dinner, I guess, which is a cool idea to use those as placemats. But anyway, she brought them over for the snakes, and I just put them all in the playpen and let the snakes crawl all over and under these big monstera leaves, and it was a different experience for them. So that was that. We're going to get to the ladder after this. I want to catch up really quick. Again, I'm gonna miss a lot of these. Okay, a lot of you are talking amongst yourselves. That's cool. A lot of you are impressed by my stopping the gang war in the middle of Los Angeles. It's something I do. I do it as a favor to humans. Let's see. Oh, somebody's saying I thought watching videos in faster playback speed reduces revenue. I've never heard that. I don't know. Maybe it does. But I know that I always watch everybody else's videos in normal speed. But when I edit or watch myself, I go in double speed because I don't need to see myself for that long. Viper boas are awesome. Yeah, they are. I don't know why, but I like them as well as sand boas, even though they hide all the time like ambush predators. Yeah, sand boas are funny. They got those funky like anaconda eyes on top of their head. Somebody says, you have 3 sons? Yes, I do. 2 of them are twins. I have 29-year-old twins and a 25-year-old. They're all really awesome. Justice is saying, oh my God, I would care. Tell them to watch your videos. Rude. Let me tell you something. When I'm on a TV show, they don't even watch. Because I'll get a text from them and they'll go, oh my God, Dad, I was just binging Parks and Rec and I just saw you on there. And I'm like, yeah, I was on there years ago and I told you I was going to be on there. Like, you didn't care. They don't care. There's a thing, like I'm their dad, so it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. And I've always, as far as they know, since they were little, I've been doing little independent films. I would bring them to the set for some little cheap independent film that I was doing in Seattle or something so they could watch it get made. And that was interesting to them, but they don't care. It's just what I do. let's see. What's your rarest, most expensive ball python? I don't know that any of my ball pythons are rare. I have some that are a little bit more spendy just because of their genetics, but it's not super rare. Although I will say, hold on, let me think here. Tiger Lily might be my most expensive one if I were to sell her, because she's a 6-gene animal, one of the genes being asphalt, and probably a world's first. It doesn't really matter when you're talking about 5 or 6 genes. Of course, it's a world's first. That's that's not that big of a deal. But she looks awesome. I'll get her in a minute. In fact, let me see if Damara wants to. I'm going to offer her home back, and if she wants to curl up in her hide, she can curl up in her hide. Otherwise, she'll go wandering. Hi, can I get you to? Man, she's so strong. All right. There's your home. Look. Here. Just do that. There you go. You make a decision. I just put her on top of her hide in her open tub, and she's coming right out. Do not knock this thing. Oh my gosh. I've got my computer on a stool, and she's super strong, obviously, because she's big. And she just wrapped her body right around a leg of it. And she could easily pull that right off. So I'm steadying it. And I'm putting my scotch, getting that out of the way. She does a thing where she goes over to Echo's enclosure, and they look at each other through the glass. Echo will come over and start tongue flicking that. And she kind of does that sometimes. So we'll see what she does. The problem is all my equipment is right here, and having her crawling around under it makes me a little bit nervous. And and the camera too. I'm gonna have to get her in a second, because unless she just decides to leave. Okay, where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, the rarest one. So it might be Tiger Lily. My guess is she would sell, because she's asphalt, she'd probably sell for $2,500 or something like that. And I have a couple. Have I paid $2,500 for any ball pythons that I've bought? I don't think so. I bet she would be my most expensive, but I didn't pay for her. I hatched her, so. And I'm never going to sell her, so her price doesn't really matter. Just hiss. I don't have a boa. I have 2 super dwarf reticulated pythons that use the ladder. And we're going to talk about that ladder. Just King Big B is saying, how did you make the ladder? I'll show you in a second. I just want to get through a couple of these. Oh, favorite snake due to personality? That's a tough one. That's really tough, because my snakes all have really great personalities. And they're all a little bit different. Damara, I love Damara because she'll sit on my lap and watch a movie with me and not move sometimes. I mean, sometimes she wants to move. But, I love the super dwarf reticulated pythons because they're so interactive, and they always want to know what's going on with me. They would almost, when they're on the ladder, they almost prefer hanging out on me if I'm standing right there, because I'm moving around, and they just want to know what's going on. Echo will sit. Echo sat on the counter all day the other day, watching me everywhere I walked. I mean, she had her head out of the hide, and this is for hours. Everywhere I went, her head moved. She just was watching me the entire time to see what was going on. She also thought I was going to feed her, but really, really fascinating. Okay, I'm skipping some of these, you guys. Sorry about that. Yes, and we have Discord. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Just Hiss. Our Discord is coming along really nicely, you guys. It's the Python Green Room on Discord, and that link is also in the description, probably of this video, but of my regular videos, definitely. There's a link to that Discord. That's a really cool community. God Butcher, hi, welcome. let's see. Hang on, sorry guys, I'm skipping through some really quick. I want to get to the, oh, there's a super chat down here. Hang on, I'm getting there. Socio Serpents, we're trying to have our logo made. Do you have any references? You know, the guy that made my logo, which I love so much, is a very close friend of mine. Mark Jackson and I have been friends for 25 years, and his rate probably for designing a logo like that would be around 10 grand. He just did it for me because we're close friends. He's a genius, and he does campaign design for like movies and stuff like that. So I was really thankful and fortunate to have him help me put together that logo for Green Room Pythons. And when you see the little animation at the beginning and end of my videos, he did that animation for me too. And so I can't recommend him because he's pretty high end for anybody going to him. But I was going to just do it myself. There are websites that you can sort of apps or websites that you can either pay or not pay that'll help you design a logo where you can kind of do it yourself. I would say the simpler the better. I see a lot of logos that people do that's fantastic art, but it's tons of crazy art. In fact, Garrett Hartle talks about this. His first logo looked cool. It was this really cool drawing of the city and a truck and different things. Really cool art, but not good for a logo because it was way too busy. There's too much going on. Now he's got this really simple Reach Out Reptiles logo that works great. So I would say that. Roger, I have no eggs in the incubator. All of my girls go late. I don't have many that are. I only have 3 that are probably going to go this year, but they all are late in the season. So I'll probably have eggs in a couple months. Okay, let's talk about this ladder. Almost everything on this ladder is now linked on Amazon in the description of this video. So the ladder I bought, this ladder is a decorative thing. I didn't know this existed until I started looking on Amazon, because I had this idea and I was like, if there was a ladder that was kind of cool, maybe made of bamboo or something that wasn't too high. So there's a thing where people, hang on, I'm going to grab Damara. Come here, Mama. You can't go back there. Okay. I think the area that she was in was interesting to her because it was different than she's seen before. So I'm just going to point her in the direction of the couch really quick so she gets herself settled. Come here, Mama. Come here. Okay. Go in there. All right. Okay, she's going under the couch. Anyway, there are ladders that people buy. You guys probably know about them, but I didn't. That are decorative ladders where they're not supposed to hold the weight of a human being, but you would like put them in your bathroom and hang towels off the rungs of the ladder, or you'd put it beside your bed or beside your couch and hang throw rugs off of them. Kind of a cool idea. That's what this is. And what I did is I have these are just kind of thin closet doors here. And I got 2 hooks, and I hung the ladder just hangs by its top rung on 2 hooks. And then these, look at this. I'll just show you. This, I'll try and talk loud. I hope you can still hear me. I have 2 ledges, and it works for me because the door is thin enough. It's probably 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch. But these are just magnetic. You know, you would put this in an enclosure like Echo has 2 of them in her enclosure. You'd put them on glass or plexiglass or whatever, and they're strong enough to go through the thin wood of that door. So it works really well. I have one there, and then I have one above where you can't see, but there's a big ledge up there because that's where the super dwarfs like to hang, is kind of up top. So these are called Magnaturals. Links to those now in the description. Let me put this back really quick. So that's just right there. This thing here is a dog toy that I found at PetSmart or Petco or something. And if you guys saw my Super Dwarf update video, that was a really fun video because we got that footage of them climbing the rope, and you know, I set up the camera. It was 4 o'clock in the morning when you see me with that red shirt on. Working with the snakes, and I had a lot of sped up footage there, and it's both the super dwarves coming down the ladder and up the ladder and onto me and off of me and down, trying to get to the floor. And the situation in that video, and I talk a lot about it, but it's that they're used to the ladder now. It's not like a new novel item for them. It's a place for them to sort of crawl around on and go to sleep. But if they're really curious and want to check things out, they kind of want off that ladder. So they were trying to get to the ground, and I realized that and brought a rope. I brought this rope over and started letting them climb on that, and it was really fun because they were climbing and you know, they were going up the rope, and then I'd get them and put them back on, and they'd go back up again. So now what I've done, and what I said in that video, is I need to make changes on this ladder so that it's new to them again. So as a first thing, I still want to change up some things on the ladder, and I will, but the first thing I did is I took this rope. This is just so now what I have going on here is like a nautical theme almost. It's like a jungle theme and a nautical theme. So I've got this rope hanging from hooks that I put in the ceiling right in front of the ladder. And so you can see how that's kind of, it's just another layer. And then this net right here is... I bought this as it's for parrots. It's like a parrot toy. Somebody gave me a great idea to use parrot toys. They gave me this idea like a week or so ago. And I went online to look at what parrot toys they had. And one of them was this just net. And it's a few bucks. It was maybe $7 or something. So I got that. And now I have this rope that hangs down. I got each end hooked to hooks via carabiners. And then this netting in there. And the snakes cruise around. I'll give you a demonstration. We'll get Stella out and I'll show you. Let me just catch up. Oh, Jacob, thanks for the super chat. Not the super dwarf, the super chat. Somebody send me a super dwarf. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. Robert, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. Cheers to approaching 250,000 views. Is that right now on this video? Man, that'd be amazing if I was at 250,000 views on this. Thanks, I appreciate that. I wonder what time frame that's in. If that's, yeah, I should look at that. Yes, Roger, you're right. Jungle Nautical does equal pirate. Yeah, it's pirate themed. I do a lot of pirate themed gigs, so it kind of makes sense. Okay, and by the way, you guys, thinking of speaking of gigs or live shows, the reason we're doing a live stream right now, and I will be more in the next few months, we're going to be doing them kind of regularly, is because I have 7 weekends in a row that I'm out of town doing shows, and that starts in like 2 weeks. So I'm coming back midweek, but it's hard to produce videos when I don't have the Friday or the weekend or the Monday. The Friday and Monday are usually my travel days, or Thursday and Monday is my travel day if the festival runs Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it really cuts into my video production time. So I'm going to still try to put out as many videos as I can, but we're doing this so that I can get one ahead at least in producing videos, and then I'll do live streams when I have to. I love doing live streams. It's cool. It's a different type of video, and it's a great way to connect with you guys who are watching live, and even connect with people that are watching it on the replay. But the fact is that the live streams don't get the kind of views that a regular video gets. But right now I don't do them regularly because I kind of just use them as the thing that I do if I can't put out a produced video for that week. So anyway, I'm really glad that you guys like these live streams. I'm happy to hang out with you, and they're really fun to do. So anyway. Just hiss. I might be doing Texas Ren Fair. I might be in just north of Houston doing that, but that'll be later in the year. And I don't know if I'm doing that yet or not. I'm going to just reach over here and grab Stella really quick. She's literally right beside us. She has a I have a plan for her. She's still in her sort of temporary enclosure, which is fine for, it's big enough for her, but I'm getting an enclosure made for her that's the same as Echo's basically. It just hasn't been ordered yet. So with her, we do a little hook because I want to keep her hook trained, so she knows that I'm not feeding her. Hi. Hi there, young lady. This is a really smart snake. She's very well target trained. If you guys look at my Instagram, a very recent post shows her following a target like really aggressively. It looks like sped up footage, but it's not. She just is quickly following this target all over the place, and then really quickly grabbing her rat. So let's see if we can get her to climb. Hey, you want to climb this rope? There you go. All right. Here she goes. I could watch pythons climbing all day long. And she's a pro at it. Echo is still a little bit... she's a little bit tentative on going straight up the rope. She'll do it, but she'd rather not, I think. Stella got good at it because when Stella was in quarantine, I bought that rope for her because I was having her climb in a different area because she was still in quarantine, and I wanted her to have some time climbing and moving around and stuff. So she's very used to it and moves around it a lot. And it's recently been introduced to Echo. And that's just not something that Echo's ever been exposed to. So she's learning. She's getting it. Let's see. So Stella, for those of you asking, she is a super dwarf reticulated python, and she's 100% Kalatoa. So that's a locality that's these are reticulated pythons that grow smaller, basically, as these little islands in one little archipelago. As those islands get smaller, the snakes on those islands get smaller. They're each their own sort of race of reticulated python. And Kalatoa is the second smallest island, so they produce pretty tiny snakes. And she is 100% Kalatoa. And I'm sure she'll be back down. If she comes down behind me and I don't see it, somebody holler at me. But I'm going to try to keep an eye on her. She's hanging at the top right now. Jaybird says, we have some dive bars here that are good free roaming snake zones. Yeah, we do too in Los Angeles. Hey, Antonio, buy a snake. This is something that you and I have been talking about for years, Antonio, specifically. And I think it's time. And I'm sure your girlfriend would be fine with it. It was just a private conversation, you guys. It was requested. I think I went above and beyond with that mention. Oh, good. Jaybird's on it too. Let Antonio buy a snake. Definitely. It helps with depression, but if it doesn't, don't neglect it. Yeah, you know what? Seriously though, for people that aren't afraid of snakes, that don't have a fear of snakes, they are pythons specifically, well, most species of python specifically are such great, like slow moving, really, really beautifully slow energy animals, that I think that they would help with depression. You know, when I put Damara around my neck and she kind of moves around and kind of gives me a slow massage, they're just, they kind of are really good at, you know, if you've had a bad day and you've got kind of amped up energy, if you hold a snake that's not also amped up, you know, as long as they're kind of a calm snake, they're going to really help you to bring that energy down. So they might be a really good snake to help for people with depression. Hang on a second. Just Hiss says, you were in LA. I am in LA. I live in Burbank. Yeah, I do live in Burbank. Oh, you were just here. Just Hiss was just in Los Angeles. That's great. I want to buy one from you. That's cool. When I have, you know, the way I do it, or the way I did it last year anyway, is as soon as there were eggs on the ground, I took a waiting list for those animals, and I'm probably gonna wait until they hatch this year, because what happens is usually when somebody gets on a waiting list, that, you know, a month, 30 days from the time that they went on the waiting list, their situation is going to change. And that's what I found most, you know, I sent a bunch of emails out to all the people on the waiting list, and they'd either already gotten a snake or they couldn't, you know, the financial situation changed or whatever. So I think what I'll do is wait till the eggs hatch. I'll let everybody know who laid, and, you know, we'll have videos about that and stuff. And then when they hatch, I'll announce it, and then we'll do a list of people that are interested, and it'll probably take me a minute to figure out what genetics are in there and stuff like that. You know, wait till they have their first shed and get a few meals in them, and then we'll figure it out. Jacob, thanks so much. I appreciate the compliment. Let's see. Everybody's pulling for Antonio getting a snake. I love it. So, yeah, and seriously, even though everybody's being funny trying to get Antonio to get a snake and his girlfriend doesn't want him to get one, I get that, you know. If there's somebody in the house that's against it, you'll cause more problems for your life. You know, surprising that person with a snake. But I will say that, and I've said this in a lot of videos before, and it's kind of why I do those, you know, I have the series of introducing people to snakes who are afraid of snakes, and I want to continue that series. It's a little bit off-brand because it's a totally different thing than what I normally do, but I think people enjoy watching them. And for the people that are afraid of snakes and watch my videos just because they're fascinated by it, it allows them to hear questions answered that they probably also have, you know. But my whole point of this is that when you're afraid of something, the more knowledge you have about that thing that you're afraid of, the more that fear is going to subside. And usually what happens with reptiles is that somebody's really afraid of whatever the reptile is. They learn about it, and not only are they not afraid of it anymore, all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I love this animal. So that's kind of a cool thing. Let's see. Okay, so what have I forgotten here, you guys? For those who joined a little bit late, I'm drinking the Anak 12 right here. It's my first time trying anything Anak. They have a few. Anak has a peated Scotch also, which normally would be my go-to, but I wanted to try I think this is their standard fare, the 12, and it's beautiful. It tastes like fruit, and it's got like pear notes and lemon and honey. It's like a dessert Scotch. It's really nice. But now I want to try the peated because I want to see if it's basically these flavor notes, but with the strong heavy peat that I really like in Scotch. Okay. Oh, let's do this. Is there, first of all, is there a particular snake that anybody wants to see? Because I have an idea of bringing one out, but before I say my idea, let me see if anybody else has theirs. By the way, Stella, I can tell when these snakes are ready to eat again, and I don't feed them every time they do this because I have them on a schedule. But Stella she's coming down now, but she's been sitting in kind of a strike position at the top of the thing this whole time that I've been talking. Now she's slowly kind of inching her way down. But they'll do that. They'll get to the bottom rung of the ladder or the bottom of this rope and sit there looking at the floor as though they're waiting for a little rodent to scurry by. Or, you know, up here, it's like they're waiting for a bat to fly by or something. It's really, really fascinating. And they usually start doing that a couple days before I'm about to feed them. So I'll let them hunt for a couple days and do their ambush position for a couple days. You see her coming down. You can see her head coming right down below the pea. It's very, very slow. She's making her way down. I think a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot, some people will feed their reticulated python every time they look hungry, and they end up eating way too much, and that's when you get those big, fat, massive retics. And I think a lot of people with mainland retics, that's the idea. They want a big, fat, massive retic. So maybe they're trying to overfeed them anyway. But they shouldn't be fed every time they're looking for food, because if they're in the wild, they're going to hunt for food for days before they find something, you know. And they kind of do both. They actively hunt and ambush, but they do a lot of active hunting. Versus a ball python will do both, but mostly they're going to ambush. And if they have to go hunting, they'll do it, but they're taking a big risk when they do it. So they like to not. You know what? The inspector. Okay, so Kata or Bear. So Kata, I'm not going to pull out because she's a big fat mama, and I want to leave her in her nest. Bear. Oh, I want to show you Bear because of one thing. I'll tell you, I can't pull out the inspector because he's in shed, and he's real picky about staying in his hide when he's in shed. But let me show you Bear's hide. He's probably in it. I can almost guarantee he's in it. So whenever I have a new piece of cardboard or some trash, I put it in the enclosure, like trash like this. This is half of a box that a electric toothbrush came in. It's a good toothbrush, by the way. The name's not on this end of it, so I can't tell you what it is. But oh, he's upside down. But anyway, so I tossed it in Bear's enclosure, and he's been in it, using it as a hide ever since. It's perfect for him because he can really squish his body in, whereas a hide, if he tries to squish too hard, the hide's going to pop up and he'll kind of spill out of it. So, like, this is his spot, you know, and this will last for a while as long as he doesn't poop in it, you know. As soon as they poop or pee in something, then I throw it out usually. Or if they have it the entire time since I've last cleaned their enclosure and it's time to clean again, I'll usually throw whatever cardboard stuff I put in there out. But I do this with mine, and then my neighbor Yoli gives me her cardboard stuff too. So if she gets something new and it's got cardboard, she brings it in for the snakes. So they all sort of get rotating pieces of cardboard, little things. Anyway, I just think this is so funny that Bear loves this hide. He's very easy to extract. Hi, buddy. Let's just take a look at him for anybody who's curious about Bearsley here. Hi, did I wake you up? That wasn't nice of me. Can we show your face? You're so cute. He's such a cute little guy. And one of the reasons that I gave him this, his personality changed a little bit when I put him in, when I upgraded his tub from his hatchling tub to a quite a bit larger one. She's doing great up there. She's just hunting and not moving. He kept eating. He eats like a champ. He's never skipped a meal, and he does really well. But he got to where he was a little bit fearful, and so in his hatchling tub, I would open that up, and he would pop his head out, crawl out onto my hand, Now, when I open his tub, he acts a little bit more fearful, and he's really slow to bring his head up and out. And he'll still check out at my hand, and he might crawl on it, he might not. It used to be just every time he would, like no problem. So what it told me is that he might feel a little bit insecure in there. So I just threw a bunch of junk in there, a whole bunch more fake plants, and cluttered it up, and including this. And that's where he stays now. So it's pretty cool. He's a good boy. He's a cool snake. He is betrothed to Lydia Dietz. And Lydia is my... Watch this. Hang on. Oh my gosh. Target broke when Damara knocked it over. I'm going to have to fix it. So Lydia... Hi, babe. Here's Lydia Dietz. She is a clown het pied. Look at those ghost faces on her side. So Lydia's a clown het pied. She'll be ready to breed next season. She's over 1,000 grams now. She might be 1,100 or something like that. And Bear will definitely be of size by then because he eats everything I give him. And he's pied het clown. So we have a clown het pied het clown. That will give us a 25% chance. Each egg has a 25% chance of being a visual clown pied. But we'll also get some just visual clowns that are het pied, and we'll get some visual pieds that are het clown, and we might get some normals that are het for both. So that'll be a fun pairing for next season. And Lydia, I'm gonna put Bear back so he can get back in his hide where he wants to be. Hang on. I feel like I mentioned this in a video recently, but I don't know. Oh, I might have mentioned it in the video that's coming out next week. I already shot the video that's coming out next week. But Lydia is the snake that I handle probably the most, just because every morning she's awake. When the lights come on in here, she's at the front of the tub trying to come out. So I bring her out, put her around my neck, and we make coffee together almost every day. She's great. Antonio's asking how old. Bear is 7-8 months old, and Lydia is I don't know, over a year though. She's probably 1.5 years, something like that. There is there, you know, I did a video when I first got Lydia. I did a video on her, and she was in the palm of my hand. You'll actually see this in next week's video. I have pictures. Next week's video, I think, is going to be cool for a lot of people. It's the topic is how many of a certain size rodent did my snakes eat before they upgraded. So this is really important information for somebody who's getting their first like hatchling ball python. If it's on frozen thawed rat pups, how many of those do you need to buy? Like, you're going to buy a bag of them. How many are you going to need before you upgrade? So I go over that with several of my snakes, including Lydia, who's now on mediums. She just took her first full medium rat the other day. I say full medium because Lane Labs has a small medium that she's been on for a while. And then I bumped her up to mediums. But what was my point here? My point was that is the video. I have a bunch of snakes that we compare, and I'm also showing pictures of them as hatchlings as we compare them, and that's really fun to see. So I'm excited about that video. Hang on, let me catch up on these. Jaybird, I have not had Hennessy Black. I don't think I've ever had Hennessy before. I don't even know what Hennessy is. I mean, I hear about Hennessy all the time. Like, I hear the word Hennessy. If I'm listening to hip hop music, I'm hearing Hennessy. I don't know what it is though. And I've never had it. The autistic cat is saying, Bob, that's not the kind of questions you want to ask on a live stream unless you want your channel taken down. I don't know what the question was that I asked. Is it what snake do you want to see? Okay, I get it. It's a joke. It's funny. Show us Tiger Lily. Okay, I will right now. I forgot. I threatened to show you Tiger Lily earlier. Oh my gosh. She is in full sleeping mode. You guys, this young lady is super sleepy. But she is just such a stunning snake. And I hope that the camera... will focus eventually. But, you know, she's got... I believe 6 genes. It's really hard to tell. You kind of have to prove that out. But there's certain ones that I know for sure. So she for sure is calico, right? You see this white up the sides. She for sure is spot nose. She's got that head stamp and the there we go. She's got the head stamp that isn't really a guitar, but it's more of a mandolin, which I think is cool. Oh, hang on. Oh, God. All right. I thought I was missing a snake. She's curled up. Stella is curled up on the very top ledge up there, sleeping, which she never does. So I looked up and did not see her. Scared me for a minute. But she's doing great. Okay, so anyway, little mandolin head stamp and a mustache. If I can get her face to turn, you can see her little mustache. But so she's definitely spot nose, definitely calico, for sure orange dream, definitely inchy, definitely asphalt. There was no yellow belly in the pairing, so it's got to be asphalt, and that's the blushing. All this blushing that you see is asphalt. You don't see tracks on her belly at all because one of the genes, or maybe a combination of the genes, will take those out. But all this blushing that she has is the asphalt. And I believe that she's also extreme gene, and I can't remember why. I think it's the brightness, just that she's super bright, and her tail, which you can't really tell. Extreme Gene does this sort of chocolate dripping down the tail, and she has a little bit of that, but she also has so much pattern that's erased out of there. It looks like an eraser came in and took that pattern out. So, you know, whether she's Extreme Gene or not, I think she probably is, but who knows? Anyway, really, really beautiful snake. Also green eyes, and she does that. I don't know if you can tell the color of her eyes, but they're green. And that's really cool. I like her a lot. Let's see. Oh. So this young lady is target trained, and her target is still on the wall. So I don't want her jumping into food mode. I'm gonna put Lydia Dietz back. Say goodbye to Lydia. Here's a size comparison of two snakes that are probably a year apart, is my guess. I'm guessing Lydia's a year and a half. I could look at my records and know for sure, but I just talking off the top of my head. And Tiger Lily is 7 months old, maybe something like that. So there's that. And also these are two. This is a good comparison. These are two snakes who have never missed a meal. So they're, you know, this is a small snake, but she's kind of chunky. She eats. She's a good eater. Okay. Hang on. Give me a second. I'm just going to pop down here really quick. Put Lydia back. Okay. All right. I'm going to just catch up on a couple of these. Thanks for sticking around, you guys. I really appreciate it. I hope that people watching the replay, I hope this is interesting enough for them to watch an hour and a half of replay. I'm guessing that this is something that people would watch. like I would watch this when I'm doing cleaning or something, you know, cleaning the snake room or whatever, where you're maybe not watching as much as listening. So if you're watching this on the replay and that's your situation, you're listening to it, take a minute and pop a comment and let me know if I'm right. I love to be right, you guys. I'm wrong so often. I love to be right. Just this. That's very funny. So the man at my local mom and pop pet store told me to go by their neck. I don't know what we're talking about on that. I obviously missed something, but I want to know. So I'm trying to see. Hang on. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Just his. Tell me what you're talking about there on that. Go by their neck. I'm curious. I don't think there's anything that you would go by their neck. You would not pick them up by their neck. You would not determine anything about them necessarily by their neck. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, are you saying the size of the prey item? You would not go by their neck because they have very skinny, stretchy necks. If that's what we're talking about, it is you go by the thickness of their stomach. And in next week's video, we're talking about that. I'm showing examples of feeder frozen thawed rats, and yeah. So I'm gonna feed a. Let me get the camera. I'm gonna feed a rodent that is about that thick, and that is at this point that's a small. She just bumped up to smalls. But I'm not going to talk about that much because it's all going to be in next week's video. Oh, yeah, Antonio, it's cognac. Hennessy is cognac. You're right. I don't think I've ever had cognac ever. I should try it just to see. Yeah, you guys, people in pet stores generally, not a knock against pet stores. It's just that these are employees. These are it's an employee who they got a job at a place, and they probably applied at the grocery store also, and the pet store is where they happen to get a job, and they like dogs and cats, so they got a pet store. And I've got a local exotic pet store that if I have to get a live rodent, that's where I go to get it because it's convenient. It's a mile or so down, but they don't know what they're doing. They have animals that are not for sale, meaning that it's their and the pet store's animal. They'll rent them out for like films, I guess, or whatever. But way too small enclosures, way too small, and it's such a bummer. So, and I would not tell anyone to take the advice on any reptile to take the advice of that store, even though it's a reptile and fish specific pet store. I wouldn't think that their employees really know what they're talking about. My guess is that each employee probably has at least a reptile in their house, and they might know a lot about bearded dragons because they have one, but they don't know anything about the Dumeral's boa that's sitting in there or whatever, So that's my spiel on pet stores. Krieg Tiger, yeah, we talked about the free roaming snakes situation, and this will be up though later. We're live right now, but it'll be up later, and you can watch that. But I went over 4 different zones that I let my snakes roam, and how I did all that. Although I'm glad you mentioned this because I don't think I finished talking about this ladder. So what I did, you guys, oh no, I did finish talking about that. This part is new. So this just gives them another layer. I didn't finish with that, but this gives them another layer. You've got this thing and then the ladder that's right by it, and they can go back and forth on it. And if you watched my last video where the problem was that the snakes were always trying to get to the ground, they still do that a little bit, but they're now interested in climbing around this and inspecting this. And this is a new thing that they haven't seen before. So they'll go onto their ladder and then onto this and down and back up. There's a loop right here. It's one rope that's looped. So they'll cruise around. And I kind of have to watch them because once they get down low, then they can easily get to the ground. And I got to watch and make sure they don't do that. But this keeps them more distracted because it's new and novel at this point. And it's easily taken down, so I can put it in different configurations. I can move it to somewhere else in the house and hang it for them, all kinds of stuff. So it's just a random, just a thing they can crawl on. It seems to work out well. Just hiss, I'm glad you're having a blast. That's great. Oh, Robert, thanks so much. Robert says the streams feel half as long as they are, speaks to the quality of entertainment. That's really nice. I appreciate that. I'm glad you guys like them because I always think they go too long. I'm long-winded anyway. You guys know that if you watch my videos. I'm getting better at editing that stuff out, but I talk a long time about stuff, and I always think that I shouldn't do that. I need to just get to the point. But it's really evident in these live streams because there's no edit button. Hang on, just going to go through a little bit more. We are going to end this pretty soon. Skolson knows the store I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm trying not to mention that store because I am friendly with them, and I do go there to buy live rodents. If I had if anybody knows of any rodent breeders in Burbank, by the way, hit me up. Actually, oh yeah, for live. I don't buy live very often, but sometimes I have snakes that need, like when the inspector was off food for 4 months, it took live to get him back on. And Lucille right now, not only is she a mouser, she's only a live mouser at the moment. Although I think she just went off food for the season. She's building follicles. Hopefully she gives us some eggs this year. But she's been eating live mice. She wouldn't take anything else, so I've just been giving her what she wants. But I definitely do not like feeding live. Let's see. Just hiss. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words and such. And Roger, you as well. Thanks so much. Yeah, come to Discord, you guys. Discord, I gotta say, and I'm sure there's people watching that are on Discord, and you can attest to this. I am on there less than I would like to. I'd like to be on there more. I just get busy, so I'll pop in and I'll make comments on a couple things or heart a couple things, but I can't catch up on everything. You can at me and I'll get that because that gives me a notification, and then I'll jump on that and read that. So you can at me on Discord and I'll read it, and I always respond to everything, unless sometimes YouTube is weird. Sometimes they don't show me that somebody's commented and I'll miss it. But I respond to almost every comment on YouTube. I try to respond to everybody that ats me on like Discord, and even people that private message me. It's tough. There's a lot of messages, but I try to respond to everybody because I really appreciate people sticking with me on these videos and such. KT is asking, do your comedy shows or tours ever make it through Dallas? No, I don't play Dallas. I've spent time in Dallas. I shot a movie in Dallas and spent a whole summer there years ago, and that was super fun. I really enjoyed Dallas. But I try to stay on the West Coast. I do one show in Texas that is usually a few weekends in a row at the Texas Ren Fair, which is the largest Renaissance festival in the world. It's really cool. And yes, Discord is free. I forgot to mention that. Totally free. So yeah, there's Discord, and then if you want something that's not free, there's Patreon. That has a bunch of benefits too. But Discord, and that's also why I started the Discord. We're going to get back to the shows in a second, the Texas thing. But the reason I started Discord is because I love the community that we've started on Patreon. There's a great bunch of people that have jumped in on Patreon to financially help support the channel. There's 3 tiers on Patreon. It's 5, 15, and 30. And each tier has different benefits that you get, all the way from like extra content and things like that to Green Room Python's t-shirts and sticker packs. Right now, t-shirts and sticker packs, any merch only goes to Patreon supporters. I'm not selling them or anything at this point. That'll probably change, but right now that's the case. But that was going so well that I knew that like not everybody can support financially. So I wanted to have a community that everybody could just join for free. And that's Discord. I want to get with, I think, Robert Belalowski, if you're still on, whether you're on or not, it doesn't matter. I want to get with you and talk to you a little bit more about Discord and running that thing right, because I don't know Discord well. I got enough information to set it up, but anyway, we'll talk. So back to the Texas thing. So I'm not doing shows in Texas other than if I do Texas Ren Fair, which is a really fun one. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of me to be. I fly back and forth. I'll do like 3 or 4 weekends in a row, and I'll fly in on Friday and fly home on Monday, back and forth, which is a lot. Keith says, join the Flaming Beard. So the 3rd tier is the Flaming Beard tier, and you do get a cool t-shirt. Yeah, the t-shirts are good. I need to give myself one of those t-shirts. I have a couple Green Room Pythons t-shirts, but I did a couple test runs with different companies and finally landed on one that I like. And that's what you guys are getting. But I only have the test run shirts, and like I have one that started fading immediately. So it's kind of cool. It's the logo, but it's like almost completely faded. It's so I never wear it, but it looks cool. I think that the ones that I'm sending out are good though. I don't think that they'll fade. Just Hiss, I can help you run that Discord. That's great. I need moderators, so anybody who's really good at Discord, shoot me a message and that would be cool to get. There's some things that I've been wanting to do that I know you can do on Discord. I just haven't had the time to sit down and figure it all out myself. And I know that there are some of you who know it really well and probably would be happy to help me out. So thanks for that. What kind of shows at TRF? So Texas Ren Fair. If you go to Ren Fairs or anything like that, there's a show called Sound and Fury. This is the only show that I do like this. I normally at Renaissance festivals and things like that, I have my own solo show, which is stand-up comedy, and I juggle like flaming battle axes and flaming chainsaw blades and crazy stuff like that. It's a comedy show. It's me. But what I do at Texas Ren Fair is a 3-man comedy show called Sound and Fury, and it's it's fake Shakespeare basically. So it's pretend Shakespeare, and it's scripted, except we can break character and we can break the fourth wall and we can pretty much improv and do whatever we want within that. And it's super fun. And we have TRF especially has tons of fans. So we pack the place. We do 4 shows a day at probably 500 to 1,000 people a show, which is crazy for a Renaissance fair. That's a huge number. And a lot of those people are people that come to every single show every year, and they have for the last 18 years. So it's pretty crazy. I don't do every show. They have for my role in that show. I think I'm considered the second guy in the 3, and there's a rotating cast of 3 of us who come in and be the second guy. So, because none of us can do all 9 weeks of Texas Ren Fair, and I won't tour. I won't go anywhere with them. I'll do Texas Ren Fair, but nothing else. So that's that deal. I told you way more about that than you needed to know. Skullson says, I can nitro boost you. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds like a good thing. Do it. Shoot me a nitro boost. I don't know what that is. Is it it's probably a Discord thing. KT says, how's Lucy doing? Lucy, for those of you who don't know, is one of my students. She has taken ukulele from me for the last 3 years or something like that, maybe longer. And she's obsessed with snakes. She loves them. And she is the person who comes in. Her mom brings her over and she changes water and spot cleans the snakes when I'm gone for more than 4 days at a time. A lot of these festivals, I'm gone for 3 days, and so I don't need her to come in. But if I'm gone for more than 4, I have her pop in, and she knows all the snakes. She knows how to care for them. I don't have her feed them, but she changes their waters, which is the most important thing, and spot cleans. And she's doing great. Positive Pyro, thanks so much for checking in. Appreciate that. And also Lucy has the designation of being the first person to really get bit by Maya, my black-headed python. So she felt the hunger bite of Maya first. I've been sense bit a few times, but Lucy got the first one and we got it on camera. So, and she still holds Maya, by the way. She still wants to hold her, and she's like, if she bites me, she bites me, which for a 14-year-old girl, that's she's pretty brave. Because it doesn't feel good. Black-headed python bites really hard, and they hang on. It's not like a ball python bite. Edward, run a search for the Python Green Room. I know it's a little bit confusing. Instead of doing green room pythons, I did the Python Green Room because I thought it would be clever, but it's probably more confusing to find. There's also a link to it in the description of this video to the Discord. But I think I haven't done a lot of Discord searching, so I'm not sure how that works. But I think if you search for the Python Green Room, it'll come up. Just Hiss is on Discord right now, showing off her snakes. That's great. I'm gonna go look at them later. Yeah, there is a lot of great snake pics. People are really good at putting good snake pics in there. I'm gonna put Tiger Lily back here real quick. Hold on 1 second. So this is it's funny. This is the first time I think that Stella has ever come onto the ladder and just crawled up to the top and fallen asleep. She doesn't sleep when she's on this ladder. She is climbing and moving the whole time, and I've got to keep an eye on her. Echo falls asleep up there all the time, and she'll spend the whole day up there. But you guys, I'm gonna pour a little bit more of this because usually. Those of you who watch this live stream, you know that I pour my scotch, but then I forget to drink it because I get talking, but I've been drinking this. It's really good. Anyway, Stella's up there sleeping, and this is the first time she's done that, so it's just interesting when they do new behavior. All right, is there any other snake that anybody wants to see before we end this? Because we will end it soon, unless there's a snake that anybody wants to see. I will show you Maya, by the way, because I try to take Maya out anytime she hasn't just eaten. I try to have a handling session with her every day, and as long as I'm not handling her at night, she doesn't bite. But the idea here this is a black-headed python, and I think they're just wired differently than other snakes. In the wild, I'm just guessing. I have one of these, and she's new, so I am not an expert at all. But I'm just gonna guess. I like to sort of figure out what might be going on with their brains, how they're thinking, but also what their instinct is. And in the wild, a black-headed python will eat every day. Like, they're not like any other python where they'll go a month or so. They have plenty of other reptiles out there for them to grab, and they put a tracker on one once, and they were eating like 12 to 15 bearded dragons a week, and not only bearded dragons, but blue-tongued skinks, other snakes, all kinds of stuff. So they're finding things, And they're also traveling up to 1/3 of a mile a day, actively hunting all day to find things and just grabbing stuff when they find it. So I think that their brain is just wired to always be looking for food. And so it happens where, you know, I'll be holding her and then all of a sudden she'll go for my arm or something. And she hasn't done that for a while. And what I'm trying to do, I'm target training her and also hook training her so that she knows that if the hook comes in, she's not eating. And the only time she is eating is when she sees that blue target. She's learned the target to the point where she gets excited about the target, but it hasn't really prevented her. She's still in food mode a lot. So I'm going to pull her out to work with her a little bit. I am going to feed her tonight, but I want to work with her a little bit before I do that. I feed Maya on a schedule of about every 3 days. She gets a small meal, and it's not always rodent. I have iguana reptilinks, and reptiles don't have the nutritional content that a rodent does. So iguana reptilink is way less nutrition than the same size rat. So that's why she can eat more often. She'll just burn right through it. They've got a really sort of aggressive digestive system. Or that's what I mean. Their metabolism is fast. So let me grab her. Brandon, thanks so much for the compliment. I appreciate that. Love the channel, Bob. My new favorite snake too. Oh, that's really nice. Appreciate that. I can't bring Lucille out because she's trying to be a mama, and I'm trying to let them. I've got 3 snakes that I'm hoping will give me eggs, and so I don't want to mess with them during this season until I see them hopefully ovulate. Last season was Lucille's first season breeding, and she was developing, but then she reabsorbed. So I'm just leaving her alone. But yeah, pieds are fantastic, right? Oh, you know what I will show you real quick before I grab Maya? We'll do this really fast. I'll show you a pied. Let's look at... Hang on. Let's look at the good captain here. I love Captain Farrell. He's a very low white pied because he's inchy. He's an inchy leopard pied. And he is... what is he? 50% het ultramel and 100% het hypo. He came from Aussie Boyds. But I love this guy. He's such a cool dude. And his eyes are so green. He's got the greenest eyes of any of my snakes. They're just so cool. And the pied that's kind of on his belly here, the white coming up, I think is cool. And his leopard pattern, he's just an awesome looking snake. And he's turned into a snake with a great personality. I thought we were going to have problems at first because when I first got him, he was just so fearful. He was striking at everything. And he quickly tamed down and was crawling out of his tub onto my hand and such like that. And he's a cool little guy. So anyway, that's him. Now let me get the blackhead. This is going to take me a minute, you guys. Talk amongst yourselves. Or talk to me. I'll read it later. Okay. Oh, there we go. Hi there, young lady. Hello. I'm going to keep you on a hook for a minute. We're going to keep you on a hook for a minute. Yeah. So here's Maya, and okay. All right. I think she's probably going to be fine. And the problem is that when I'm doing a live stream, I'm kind of paying attention to my live stream. And with this snake, I like to always pay attention to exactly what her face is doing. Because I've learned the signals when she's about to bite me. And I'm not paying attention to her, she could give me those signals real quick right before the bite. But if she does bite me, I have this little bottle of whiskey that says whiskey for bite. It's the cheapest bourbon that I had in my cupboard. I think it's Larceny, which isn't a bad bourbon, but it's cheap. And you just do a quick spray in her mouth and she lets go. But before you get to that, the time from the bite to the letting go is pretty painful. She bites really hard. Like they've got really strong jaws. She does wrap her prey sometimes, about half the time she wraps, but blackheads are known for not really wrapping up like most pythons. And so they just kind of grab their prey and kill it with their jaws, which is it's a solid bite. Heather says, friendly reminder, there's a snake under the couch. Yeah, there's actually a snake behind the mirror. I'm sure she's behind the mirror. She's fine. She can, the snake that I have to worry about is Stella right there. Because if she moved somewhere else in the house, she would be hard to find. Damara is 8 or 9 pounds, maybe 7 or 8 pounds. And if she moved somewhere, I'd probably see her out of the corner of my eye. But even if I didn't, I'd find her. Keith, yeah, isn't Captain Farrell a handsome chap? He really is. He's a good-looking boy. Yeah, Krieg Tiger, I would do that for a retake too if I got a... Now, here's the other thing, and I want to try this with Maya. If she ever bites me again, which I fully expect she will, I want to try this trick that I learned from Garrett Hartle. Those of you who watch Reach Out Reptiles, he did a great little video, really quick on the fly video, because he got bit by one of his larger dwarf reticulated pythons. And it was on his arm, and he was like, he had somebody roll the camera, and he was like, let me show you how to get a snake off if they bite you. And it was that you chew on the end of their tail like it's corn. You just take their tail and take your teeth and just like it's corn. Not hard, but it makes them sort of go, what's going on? And they let go. So I'm guessing or I'm not guessing, I would say for sure that's probably healthier than spraying whiskey in their mouth. The other thing though, I'm not a big proponent of negative reinforcement when training animals. I think positive reinforcement is much better. And I'm also not a pro animal trainer like Lori Torini. If you watch her videos, she's a professional animal trainer. She knows what she's doing. But the thing with the bite with Maya is I kind of like the fact that she definitely doesn't like the whiskey sprayed in her mouth, and it just takes half a spray and she's letting go. But there is a negative consequence for her. Right now it's no skin off her back to just take a taste of everything, because it might be food, whatever. She's looking for food. That might be food. It's kind of warm and who knows? Let's try it. So if there's a negative consequence to her biting my arm or, trying to take a taste of me, then she might think twice eventually, is my thought, but I don't know. Maybe that's right. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, she's a little bit different. For those of you who don't know black-headed pythons very well, most of them are more this sort of yellowish cream color all the way up and around their spine. It's almost like if you've seen Woma pythons, they kind of have that same pattern. So Maya's got a cool thing going on where it's called ladderback, and that's not a specific gene. It's kind of I don't know. They haven't figured it out. It's potentially points to maybe a het for I can't think of words right now. But it's possibly a het for something. Anyway, I love the black. I love this dark black down her back with the little spots is so cool to me. Anyway, she's doing very well. She's definitely getting snacks tonight. And let's hope that it's not my arm. Okay. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way up the thing. Hold on one second, you guys. Let me see where we're at here. Okay, so anyway, that trick of spraying, it could be bourbon, it could be breath spray. That works too. Some snakes, it works just water. Just run some water on them and they'll let go. That all works for pretty much any snake. But that being said, all snakes are individuals, so there might be some that don't work. I think Snake Discovery has a video they're testing out. They've got I think a bull snake that bites constantly, and so Emily was having it bite her, and she was she was having it bite her, and just testing different ways, different things to see if it would work to get the snake to let go. So every snake is different. Teresa, that's right. Blackheads don't have heat pits like other pythons, but that doesn't mean that they don't have heat pits, because they do. The reason it's not like other pythons is because they are behind their rostral scale is a heat pit. So they definitely can sense heat, but they're not using it. I don't think it's as sensitive as other pythons. And a lot of people say that it's because they eat primarily reptiles in the wild, and reptiles are cold-blooded. But keep in mind that reptiles are still warm animals. They're still warming themselves up. The thing about a cold-blooded animal is just that they don't produce their own warmth. They have to get it from the sun. So it's not that there are a bunch of cold animals running around. They actually have a heat signature. So they can find other reptiles with their heat signature. They just have, I think, it's possible that they evolved to not have heat pits because they do so much burrowing. They're underground a lot. And they're digging their own tunnels. Whereas like a ball python is underground, but it's usually finding an existing burrow that a rodent dug. These guys are using their nose to shovel sand and dirt and whatever, and that would plug up those heat pits. So they've got a rostral scale that covers their heat pit, which I think is fascinating. Yeah, Justice says that does not look like a sweet looking snake, but beautiful. Yeah, I think she's a sweet snake because she's not defensive. She's not scared. She's never acted frightened of me, or she just, when I'm handling her, she's just cruising around. She wants to see what's going on. She wants to move around a little bit. And anytime she's tried to bite me, she's not trying to bite me. She's just trying to eat food. And it's always a food bite. So, and really the other thing, I've never seen her do a defensive strike, but apparently black-headed pythons rarely bite when they're defending themselves. They do a lot of bluff strikes. Had to check on Stella up there. She's doing good. She's awake though, so she could move at any time. So there's, even in the wild, they are doing bluff strikes. And I saw a video. It's an old video, but it's a guy out in Australia finding these in the wild. And he's going, every one of these that I've found, I've just walked up to them and picked them up. And they're basically tame out of the wild. They're not scared of humans at all. And I don't think they think to try to bite people in the wild because they're not eating many mammals in the wild. What we do is, and this is something that Derek Roddy, who's kind of the black-headed python king in the United States, he's the guy that has been breeding them successfully the longest. He has a theory that we teach them how to eat mice and rats in captivity, and they just don't really have a good sense of being able to tell one mammal from another. So they smell a human, that smells the same as a rat or anything else that's a mammal to them, so it just seems like food. Whereas I think in the wild, they're more used to getting rodents, and so a human wouldn't necessarily smell like food immediately to them. So people are picking them up in the wild like no problem. And I guess you can do that with bearded dragons too, which I think is interesting. Same area of Australia. So Krieg Tiger, it sounds like you've got maybe a blackhead too. that you're working with? That's cool. Um, uh, I think that my particular blackhead, it's hard when you have one snake, whether it's a ball python or anything. When you have one example of a species to go by, it's hard to tell what is species behavior and what is individual snake behavior. And I think the food response of this snake, even though black-headed pythons are supposed to have a pretty big food response, I think Maya's is stronger than most black-headed pythons. Just based on what I've heard. Derek Roddy tells me that most of his black-headed pythons don't get like food bitey until they're 3 years old, and she's a year and a half. She's pretty food bitey, so. They are super cool snakes though. I really like this snake. It's very different than any other python. It almost feels like holding a cooler bread or something. You know, it's just a very different snake. Oh, Creek Tiger, yours is a new dwarf retake. That's great. 5 years old, 8 feet. That's fantastic. I bet that's an awesome snake. Let's see. Robert, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. I saw your message to me jumped on the screen, and I saw a very small portion of it that you're super busy with school. I totally get that. I appreciate that. I will. There are plenty of other people that can help with that Discord, and if your time frees up, you know that I'd love to have your help. But that's no problem at all. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks, Krieg Tiger. Yeah, she's super pretty, and she'll get. I believe I'm not going to overfeed her. A lot of people overfeed their blackheads, and my guess is that she'll be about 7 feet when she's like breeding size adult. She'll slowly get bigger than that, but once she's an adult, in a couple of years, I'm guessing she'll be 7 feet and probably the same thickness as like a small water bottle, you know, something like that. Yeah, Keith says there's a lot of behavior that seems to be due to individual personality. We only realize that after getting a couple of snakes to compare. It's true. And on that same note, my mom gave me a great idea for a video the other day. Tell me if you guys think this would be interesting, is to do a comparison. Let's do a video that's a personality comparison of snakes. It would include mostly ball pythons, because I would want to compare one species and talk about that. You know, what's a species specific sort of personality trait or tendency for these snakes to do, and within those tendencies, or within those parameters, what are some outlier things that certain snakes do because of their, what we call their personality, you know. I think that would be an interesting video. What do you guys think? Vicious Cube, yeah. You're saying compare the three different ones. Yeah, I would definitely do that. Compare the different snakes, and I might even include a couple others that I don't have here. I'm gonna put Maya back. She did really well. I'm very proud of her. I'll give you a good look. Look at that inky black head. You know what else I love about them? They have, you know, their inky black head is goes into their eyes also. So their eyes are super black. You can't see their pupils at all. It's like they're constantly wearing sunglasses. But if she were to, I wish she would yawn right now, because the inside of her mouth is black, like a black mamba. The whole, like, everything's black. It's so cool. All right, I'm putting her back. Maya, you did so good. You're so good not biting me. Okay. What were we just talking about? I mean, we're close to done. We're close to done anyway. Oh, we were talking about comparing different species. I like that idea to do that. I probably would do some other, because black-headed pythons are less common, I think, for people to have. And it is tough when, I'm also still just learning about superdwarfs. I have 2 superdwarfs, and those are fairly new species to me. I feel like I'm really good at, my strength is research. I'm good at finding what I think is good information. So I think I'm well researched on the reticulated pythons, and I think I'm well researched on black-headed pythons, even though there's not a ton of information out there. If you're getting into ball pythons, you can find information everywhere. And it's a little bit different with other snakes. Ball pythons just happen to be the most popular snake probably in the world to own. And so there's a lot of content on them. So anyway, I can compare based on what I have experienced so far, still being a fairly new keeper. I've had Echo for almost a year. So I've only been with Super Dwarf Reticulated Python for less than a year. And I've been with Maya for like 4 months, maybe. So black-headed python for 4 months. It's not a lot of experience to go on, but I can tell you my thoughts on it. Brandon says, thoughts on using gloves for handling snakes. Use them. If that's what, for a lot of people get a snake. I always advocate for not getting a snake if you're scared of snakes. But a lot of people get a snake because they want to get over their fear. And using gloves to handle the snake is a great way to get started. Also, another scenario is a lot of people aren't afraid of snakes and they buy a snake and it just bites like crazy. So don't be shy using gloves. And if it's a ball python, don't tell anybody on Facebook that you're using gloves, because some idiot is going to be a troll and berate you for using gloves. If you need to use gloves, use gloves. No big deal. It's not fun to get bit, and if you've got a snake that tends to bite, use the gloves. Let's see. Vicious Cube, I like this idea. Where to go? Maybe we could do some polls on Discord for different behaviors. I like that. That's cool. I could use the folks on Discord and talk about the poll results in a video. That'd be fun. Okay, we're almost done with this, you guys. I just want to read through this really quick. Brandon, I think it's a great idea for new snake handlers to gain confidence to start with gloves, because then they're at least picking up their snake. And especially with ball pythons, it won't be long before they realize that, A, the snake realizes that they're no threat. Usually ball pythons tame down pretty quickly. Individuals are different, but but it's also a great way for the person to get comfortable with handling a snake, and the gloves will come off pretty soon, I think. So let's see. Zoe is asking, what are some ways? She has a food aggressive ball python. What are some ways to calm her down? There's not really. Some snakes are super food. Well, that's not true. Hook training is the thing to do with her. So most ball pythons don't need it, but some do, and it sounds like yours does. Just get a hook like this off Amazon. I might have a link to the Amazon for the hook. I don't know if I put one in there. I should, though. I'll check and see. But hook like this, pretty cheap. This one's retractable. And you just, for a snake that is food aggressive, so they think they're being fed every time you go in, all you do is every time you go in when you're not feeding them, is you just touch them on the head with a hook, or you could do a paper towel roll, anything that doesn't have a heat signature. You just touch them and kind of brush it over them so that they know this isn't food time. This is either handling time, or this is, I'm going to come in and change your water or spot clean or whatever. And they get the idea really quick that when this hook comes in, they're not being fed. So that works really well. And then the other thing is target training. If you are willing to spend the time to target train your snake, and some snakes it takes no time at all, they learn that the only time they're getting fed is when they see that target. And that works really well. So there's that. Edward, you just subscribed to Husbandry Pro. Yeah, I do recommend it. That's it's a great app. I wouldn't use it. I've said this before. I wouldn't use Husbandry Pro if I had like less than 10 snakes, because when I had less than 10 snakes, I had a diary for each snake, and I would just write stuff down, and it's really easy to just grab a pen and jot something down really quick. With Husbandry Pro, I have to either sit at my computer or sit on my phone and punch and scroll and enter the stuff in. But with more than 10 snakes, I think it saves me time, and it definitely saves me space of not having a diary for each snake. I guess you could have a clipboard and a sheet for each snake or something. I don't know. But Husbandry Pro is great. You can do everything with it. So, yeah. I want to go back to this hook really quick. I want to mention that what I see a lot of keepers do with the hook is like pop the snake in the face with the hook. Don't make it a scare thing. This is not, we're not trying to scare the snake out of being in food mode. What we're trying to do is lightly brush them. It doesn't have to be on the head. It could be somewhere on the upper third of their body. Usually I'll start on the back of the upper third and then run it across the top of their head, or I'll let them tongue flick on it. I'll do a little of both, but I'm not popping them on the head. You're not trying to make your snake do that really fast recoil thing, because then you're just scaring your snake every time you go in. You don't want to do that. It's what most people do though, so I just try to avoid that with my snakes. Hang on, I'm going to do these last few. Oh, Keith, that's interesting. I didn't know this about Kevlar gloves. I don't think I've ever had Kevlar gloves. Keith is saying I'd recommend Kevlar gloves, nice and thin, so you can still feel your snake, what your snake is up to, better than wearing welding gauntlets that all but obliterate your sense of touch. Yeah, really good point. That's smart. Yes, Schlee says I had a demon hamster once that I wore chainmail glove to feed. It worked. Yeah, I tell you what, I would rather take a snake bite, even a black-headed python snake bite. This is the time that my lights go out in my enclosures. I would rather take that snake bite than a hamster any day. Any day. Edward is the guy who just ordered Husbandry Pro. He says he's got 11 snakes. So I said, if you have under 10, you don't need Husbandry Pro. You have over 10, so you did the right thing. Well done. Okay. So you guys, this has been over 2 hours. Jeez. I can't do these this long. Here's the thing. I mean, I can't, obviously. I could sit here all night and chat with you guys. But starting now, there is going to be more live streams. It might be like every other week is a live stream instead of a produced video for a while, because I have this 7-week in a row tour that's gonna kill me for production. So I don't want to go 2 hours each time, because I want to save some content and questions for the next live stream. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Those of you who have been with me this whole time, those of you watching this on the replay, if you're watching 2 hours and 15 minutes of this thing, you're nuts, but I'm glad that you stuck with me. I hope that you enjoyed it. And, that's it. I appreciate you guys watching. I will see you next week as a produced video, and, probably the following week. And then we'll be live again. All right. Thanks so much, you guys. See you next time.